Thanksgiving is one of those holidays that no matter what your background is, no matter what you live by, what your creed is, or anything like that, most people within the United States celebrate Thanksgiving. Now, it is also a festival that is celebrated outside of the United States, just under different names. It's basically a harvest festival. Now, something that seems pretty benign, like a time where you get together with your family, you eat a meal, and then you talk about what you're thankful for and things like that. What seems to be pretty benign actually has some very, very dark origins and pagan roots. So today I'm going to be telling you guys why me and my family do not celebrate Thanksgiving, and I'm going to give you guys the information that I have found as to why, we really shouldn't be celebrating Thanksgiving, and what it actually we are celebrating when we get together on these appointed times, break bread together, and congregate. So before we get into that, remember Sovereign Health Summit is going to be next October. Remember, whatever you are dealing with, whatever you are diagnosed with, whatever they told you is wrong with you, you do not have to live with. It is not a permanent thing that you have to live with for the rest of your life. Come to the Sovereign Health Summit and get that sorted out for you. Find the actual cures, not the medication for the symptoms of whatever you're dealing with. Also, if you need an on-site consultation, on-site permaculture consultation, hit up the email down below. Same for a soil biology test. You want to know what microbes are in your soil? Hit up the email down below. Also, permaculture design course over on Patreon. I got that running up. And then I also recently did an update on my Patreon account. So not only am I going to be uploading my permaculture design course, but I'm going to be uploading every single YouTube video that I do over on Patreon. So that way my patrons can avoid the ads. You can get in for as little as a Starbucks cup of coffee per month, really. For as little as $5 a month, you can have access to all the permaculture design course information, plus every single YouTube video that I do from here on out. That being said, let's get back into the information about Thanksgiving. So in this notebook right here, I have my compiled thoughts, right, and organized thoughts and everything. Because I wanted to be able to design this video in a way where you could, take this information and present it to other people if you wanted to. Because it's one thing for me to just rant in front of the camera and then nobody really understands anything that I said, but I feel better in this situation. It's different to, if you want to present this information to other people. So if you see me looking down at this notebook right here, then that's exactly what I'm doing. Let's start with the most common thought behind Thanksgiving. How did it start? The common story behind it is that the Pilgrims in Plymouth, they were having a pretty rough year, having a pretty rough go of it. And the Wampanoag tribe came over during about this time, during the Wampanoag's feast festival, their harvest feast festival. And they came over, and then not only did they give food to the Pilgrims, but they also invited them to continue on with their 3-day feast festival, or the harvest festival, basically. And that's kind of where it started. Now, look at what happened there, right? So you have the act of breaking bread together, which no matter what culture you go to, no matter where you are in the world, the act of breaking bread is typically a peace covenant. It's like you're making peace with whoever you're, breaking bread with. Now, what happened to that covenant? It was almost immediately pissed on. It was almost immediately broken. So just on the face of it, and this is kind of where I started with the whole idea about Thanksgiving and, whether or not me and my family should celebrate it or not, it was like, this really seems to be a celebration of a broken covenant. Now, that seems like a bad thing to celebrate, just on the face of it, is celebrating a broken covenant. Especially whenever we're celebrating something like Thanksgiving, where we're being thankful or acknowledging what we're thankful for. We can do that on any day. It doesn't have to be a designated heli day or holiday. It doesn't have to be a designated holiday for us to be thankful for what, the Father's provided us. So just on the face of it, we're celebrating a broken covenant. Now, this wasn't even a celebration that was, or a holiday that was even recognized until, 1863. Abraham Lincoln was like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing in the United States. And what did I write down exactly? He established it as a holiday in 1863 to manipulate the masses into squashing rebellion. Because not only was there rebellion between the North and the South, but there was also a rebellion over on the west side of the United States. Wasn't necessarily states over on the west side just yet, but with Native Americans or Indians. Honestly, real quick note, the Indians were never called Indians because they confused them with the Christopher Columbus wasn't confused that he was in India. Indians translate over to like people of God. Like if you look at like the him studying for Ezra, him having more navigators and stuff like that, he thought he was going to a very specific location, maybe possibly like lost tribe of Israel type stuff, who even knows, but he called them Indians because it meant people of God, not because he thought he was in India. So Indians isn't like a derogatory term. Sorry, is it a yellow jacket? Indians isn't like a derogatory term, right? It shouldn't be. Native Americans, I mean, they're interchangeable, is all I'm trying to say. You can say Native Americans or you can say Indians, say whatever you want to. All I mean is like the word Indian isn't derogatory. So anyway, 1836 or 1863, sorry, is whenever Lincoln, the tyrant, came and established the holiday Thanksgiving, so that way you could have some sort of control over the masses and try to bring everybody together under his federal control, as opposed to allowing the states to continue to have control or these tribes to have sovereignty over their own governance and things like that. So the more you learn about Lincoln, the more you realize like, oh wow, he was a bad guy, and the winners do in fact write the history books. But anyway, so looking at those two things, it was celebrating a broken covenant, and then later used as a form of manipulation during times of rebellion. Two reasons to not even celebrate Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving or the fall feast days stems way, way further than just in the 1600s, whenever the, Wampanoag people came and brought food and invited the natives. Remember, I said they invited the natives, but they invited the pilgrims over to their fall harvest festival, for this 3-day festival, because this stems way further back. Let me give you some examples of different cultures around the world that all celebrate these fall feast days, and a couple of similarities that they all have. So the ancient Semites celebrated Astarte or Astarte. The Phrygians celebrated, they called her Semele, or Semele. That's what they called her. The Minoans had an Earth Mother for every single district that they had. So they had like their own idol that they would worship for each district. And then the Greeks came in and they consolidated everything and called her Demeter, or Demeter, however you pronounce it, whatever. The Romans celebrated Sorelia, and they spread it to England, but also realizing like England was doing their own celebration of a fall harvest long before Rome ever appeared. Ancient Babylonians, they worship Semiramis, or Semiramis, I don't know how you exactly pronounce it, but husband, actually mommy wife, which is just weird in and of itself, to Nimrod, right? Now, the Semiramis married to Nimrod, also his mother. Nimrod died and became, according to their tradition, became the sun god, and then the rays of the sun impregnates Semiramis with their son Tammuz, who is a reincarnated Nimrod. Now, Tammuz, according to their tradition, dies every single year, comes back to life in the spring and things like that. Now, this might seem like which also then becomes like another son husband to Semiramis. So there's a lot of incest going on in this situation. Now you'll notice the same exact story for Isis and Osiris, as well as Venus and Adonis. So like wherever you go, these same stories keep happening. There's a pattern to these stories that keep on happening. Also in North, Central, and then South America, they all had these same fall harvest festivals. Now, here's where it comes into, this similar pattern again. How did all of these cultures celebrate their fall harvest? They celebrated it with orgies, depravity, gluttony, animal and human sacrifices. So everybody that I mentioned so far all participated in all 4 of those, and like the North, Central, and Southern American cultures were not any different. Here's a list of the tribes that did the exact same thing. The Cahokia, the tribes located around St. Louis, also the Dixon Mountains in Illinois, the Pawnee tribe, Powhatan tribe, the Maya, the Olmec, the Inca, the Aztec, the Natchez, the Susquehanna, the Dakota, the Creeks, the Anasazi, All of these tribes celebrate all of their fall harvests the exact same way. So something that we're told started in 1600s and then later established in 1863 actually has way further meanings than just what we're told, or way deeper roots than what we're told. This has been going on since the fall. If you believe in scripture, this has been going on since Adam and Eve ate the fruit. I mean, this is like, we're talking about the Semites and the Babylonians. The Semites are thought to have been like descendants of Shem after Noah's flood and everything like that. Not Noah's flood, but after the flood, after Noah's Ark and everything. So if you need, now obviously the question or the statement that's going to come up is that, well, God knows my heart, God knows my intent, and things like that. And you're right, he does, and that should terrify you. But if you need further explanation of like as to why we are not supposed to do any of these things, is because we're not to add to or subtract what we are told. We'll go to Deuteronomy 12, 28 through 32. All right, so Deuteronomy 12, 28 through 32. Let's look at this real quick. Guard and obey all these words which I command you, that it might be well with you and your children after you forever. You notice that word pops up, forever. When you do what is good and right in the eyes of Yahweh your Elohim. Let's real quick, because there are issues with the Masoretic, let's look at seeing what it says in the Septuagint, which is far older. Get out of here, yellow jacket. Which is far older than the Masoretic text, right? Beware and hearken, thou shalt do all commands which I charge thee, that it may be well with thee and thy sons, again, forever. If thou shalt do that which is pleasing and good before the living Yahweh your Elohim. Now let's go back to the scriptures, just because it is a little bit easier to read, the less these and thous and everything like that. And let me start over to 12:28 so you get the full picture. Guard and obey all these words which I command you, that it may be well with you and your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the eyes of Yahweh your Elohim. Continues on to say, when Yahweh your Elohim does cut off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, guard yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire about their mighty ones, saying, how did these nations serve their mighty ones, and let me do so too? Do not do so to Yahweh your Elohim, for every abomination which Yahweh hates they have done to their mighty ones, for they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire to their mighty ones. All the words I am commanding you, guard to do it. Do not add to it nor take away from it. We are given exact, with the feasts, the feasts said in scripture, you'll notice that same word pop up, forever, through you and all your generations, forever. There's your harvest fest. There's your harvest feast. There's your get-togethers. There's your Kodesh, or set-apart times to hang out with your family, to give thanks to Yahweh, to do all of these things. We're told exactly how to worship him. We're told exactly what to do. We don't need to add to or take away from it. In fact, we're warned against not adding to or taking away from it. And Thanksgiving is exactly adding to it. So whenever you say like, well, you know, God knows my heart, God knows what I'm intending and stuff like that, he does. And he still gave you a warning to not celebrate him or not to worship him in the ways that the nations do. So I'm not saying any of this to say like, oh, all you guys are going to Sheol or anything like that. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just simply presenting you the argument with the information that I have found as to why we don't celebrate Thanksgiving, and we don't follow any man-made traditions. We don't follow any man-made holidays. And also, yeah, I noticed there was some, I know there's some Hebrew in some of this. Just to like squash any of that, we are not Jewish in the slightest. We read scripture and we do exactly what is within scripture. We don't celebrate Hanukkah. That's another man-made tradition. We only do what's within scripture, and that seems to be the safest place to be, especially with all this, like these hidden agendas that are sneaked into some of these what seems to be benign holidays. So yeah, there we go, y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you need any of this stuff that I talked about at the beginning of the video, it's all linked down below. Until next time, we'll see you.